Yeah, I was like, get out of the way, Phil. Get out of the way. Step out of bounds. Yeah, but he's all in, and these guys are all pulling in the same direction. And if we were going to score a touchdown on that play, he was going to get that block. So.
Does some of your team leaders, Philip, in particular, because of the experiences he's had, both good and bad this time of year, they're seasoned in December. They know how to win in December. How valuable is that? And sort of imparting that to the group.
No, it's real valuable when you have veteran guys that's been there and done it. They can teach the young guys. We have a young team, and I think our captains, our veteran leadership, I think they do a good job, of carrying out my vision throughout the locker room.
Anthony, what was your message to Austin at the end of the first half in a play where it was a tough thing for running back because you guys taught him?
But that was dumb. That was a dumb play, Boston. He's a rookie. He made a bad mistake, and that play was called in the huddle. It's called down, down. You get an open area, you take a knee, you get down, we use the timeout, we kick the field goal. And he thought he could score. Made a bad decision.
But what do you see from Tyrell Williams? I mean, last year he was the number one guy. This year he's had more of a complimentary role. But how has he handled that and see what he could do?
I think he's handled that well. He's competing with Mike for playing time, and we use both of those guys, and I love to see them compete, and I like the way they're competing. But I think he's handled that well.
Was it a concerted effort to get the ball early? He had 3 catches over 100 yards. Is that something you like?
We're going to take shots down the field, and he has speed, so he's part of that shot package. And, we try to get him the ball early.
Anthony, you obviously are concerned with what you can control and focus on that. But when you come in and you check, you look and see what happens, how you lose in Arizona, do you keep tabs on that stuff? You come in and
No, I had no idea until you just said something. So, that's something you'll take a look at later on tonight and just kind of see where you're at in the standings. I like to know exactly where we're at, and I tell the team, too, because I want them to understand the big picture. I want players to always know what they're playing for. And right now, we're playing for our division.
Has that been the message since 0-4?
Absolutely. We was 0-4, we was playing for our division. It's just too much football left to count yourself out.
Saturday is obviously a big game, and it's a shortened week. Do you give yourself a little less time than the 24-hour rule to really focus on that, or how much do you really?
It's a short week, so we'll give the players tomorrow off, and we'll come in noon on Tuesday, and we're back at it, man. Back at it.
Was there a point where the switch flipped? I mean, you did start 0-4, and clearly it was very close losses, but when did you feel like the season was turning?
I never really felt like we were out of it, because we were playing good ball but losing close games. And, I think the first win helped. They let us know that we can win the first game. A close game. The way we came back and won in New York, I think that helped, certainly. But we did it again the very next week in Oakland. And we got into a little bit of a rhythm. And I think after the bye week, we looked at ourselves really hard, and we made some adjustments, and I think we're in a pretty good rhythm.
Anthony, after the defense makes a big play, it seems like the group as a whole always runs to the end zone to kind of celebrate together. Do you like that they do that as a unit?
I like that they do everything together. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. That almost cost us today. We had a guy run on the field. He thought it was a touchdown, and it wasn't a touchdown. So that's something we're going to have to visit on Tuesday.
Is that kind of indicative of that group's attitude right now, though?
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Everything they do it together, and they play for one another. One guy, he's happy as hell that the other guy scored a touchdown. There's no jealousy on this team. These guys, it's really a brotherhood. It's neat to see.
But over the last 4 games, the team's got off to such good starts early on. Is there a common denominator for a reason why it's been?
What's that again?
The last 4 weeks, the team's got off to such a strong start early on. Is there a common denominator, a common theme, reason why they've been able to do
Just execution. Guys are executing. Early in the year, I think we went 6 games without scoring on the first drive, and we had dropped balls on third down. We didn't stay on the field, and bad throws. It was just execution is just better.
What's your assessment on how Melvin played today?
Which Melvin?
Ford.
He ran hard. And we used him between the tackles a lot, and I like the way he finished the game. So we'll have to watch the tape to see. But from what I saw on the sideline, I thought he ran well.
Russell and Denzel got dinged up a little bit. Did they both look pretty okay?
Russell came back. He got dinged up and he came back. I think Denzel could have finished the game. So I think those guys will be okay.
How do you handle a short week? This week is short and obviously a tough game. Where you got to go?
Yeah, we'll give the guys tomorrow off. We normally come in on Mondays, but we'll let them go on Monday and bring them in half day on Tuesday, kind of shorten things up in practice and installs. In week 14, 15, we pretty much know what we're going to do. So we'll try to rest them that way throughout the week.
I feel like the players have responded to that pretty well. Kind of
I think so.
a little bit.
I think so, Rick. We do a lot of glide and slide, and we do a lot of walkthroughs, and we change the tempo. We'll go full speed, glide and slide and walk through. And when I see the guys getting tired or guys are hurting, I change the tempo, to keep them fresh and help them recover quicker. And I think they've responded well to that. You fear that when you take the pads off and you do things like that, you lose the physicality and the tackling and things like that, the techniques. But our guys, I think they've responded well to it.
Anthony, since you guys started stopping the run, you played more defensive backs. It seems like it's closer to being your base almost. What's it to smaller guys against the run? Is it attitude? How are they able to tackle?
First of all, our guys, they have linebacker mentality. AP and Jalil, they'll step up in the box and they'll hit. But we do that a lot of times for the matchup. If there's a couple of tight ends on the field, we feel better with those guys covering the linebackers. And our guys are good enough to play the pass and the run. So that's kind of why we do that.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Okay.
Wound up winning the division, and you've had other teams that have kicked it into gear in the second half of the season. What is it about this season and this team that are similar to those experiences you've had before, and what sorts of things do you tell them or transmit to them that have kind of helped get this thing going?
Yeah, well, I think some of them, there's some similarities. I don't know that it was quite to the desperation that 4-8 felt that year, and we had to win all four, and Denver had to lose all four. But I think it's a little, but there are some. There's some similarities. I think the biggest thing I think for our team is Lynn did a heck of a job of just keeping everybody dialed in when we were at 0-4, and let's just try to win a game, and then let's just try to win another game, and we really just took the boring 1 week at a time approach, and everybody just dug in. And then also, I think he's done a good job. Also, I think it was when we got back from Jacksonville, we were 3-5, or where we went to, of saying maybe it was after that or 4, whatever we were. And he said, "Hey, we're still in the hunt. We're still in the playoff chase. If we weren't, I'd tell you." And I thought that was interesting, being where we were, that he still just acknowledged, here's what we have ahead of us. And I think that's been helpful, is that we've been kind of two-sided, very boring, one game at a time, like we should be, very focused. I think that's what's helped us get out of the hole. But we've also acknowledged what we're playing for, and we've dug our way back into a tie in the AFC West. Our goal is to win the AFC West, and now we're going to Kansas City with the chance to further our chances of being where we want to be. And I think it's good for our young guys to acknowledge what's at stake, because we haven't had in the last 2 years any real meaningful December games. In terms of playoffs, they all mean something, but in different degrees. So I think it's good for our young guys to acknowledge, hey, here's where we are. Let's not hide from the fact that we have a chance to win the AFC West. And once that became more of a real possibility, I think we've done a good job of balancing that.
For a young guy, is it easier to be overwhelmed by 0-4, or is it easier for them to just shrug it off?
I don't know, because I don't know what their expectation was. Different guys come from different schools where they didn't lose 4 games in their whole college career. So, and then some guys maybe were at places where they lost a lot of games. So you never know about that. But I think where it is different is you lose 4 games in college, you can chalk up your playoff chances and your chances to be the champion. So whereas here you lose 4 games and then you find a way to win whatever we've won now, 6 of 7 of 8. And you have a chance to stay alive.
So, what does it feel like for you standing at the bottom of that hole at 0-4? You have had all these experiences where you've done things down, but it's still got to be discouraging.
Yeah, I think, being completely honest, a lot of different emotions from just a little bit of, you got to be kidding me. Could it be any worse right now? We've moved up the road. We've lost 4 in a row. Gosh, is this my last 12 games here? And you have all those thoughts. We're about to go find a way to beat the Giants and win the rest of them and go 12-4. You know what I mean? So I think it's a lot of there was a lot of that. And even now, I think while it's been real exciting, I think it's been not getting too. We've been right here before on the cusp, and we've lost the last 2 or 3, and you end up a game out. So while everybody's excited and we're feeling pretty good about what we've done to get back in it, we got to make sure that nobody relaxes, and I don't think we will. But I think that's what to guard against now is that, hey, hold on a minute. Everybody keeps you can't completely turn it off. You hear all this positive stuff about the Chargers now, but we have to make sure that we continue to move forward like we have been.
Did you lobby to be the lead blocker on that reverse?
Well, no. My plan was to turn back right now and hope that the defensive end was right there, that we could just kind of brother-in-law it a little bit. But then there wasn't anybody, and then I thought to myself, gracious, I've never been this far down the field in my life since high school. It's been a long time. It was nice that I didn't have to. I was hoping maybe I could have the TD springing block there at the end, but.
You were talking to Eckler at the end of the first half. It looked like a situation where he could have gone down or not.
Yeah, he's a young player. He's a young player that's made a lot of plays for us. He's going to be a really good player. And I'm not here to point the finger on him. I think he would tell you that he's got to get down and handle that. But it was communicated to him, hey, if you break scot-free, you got to slide and get down at some point. We have 8 seconds. I mean, you don't have to do it right at 5 yards. And then I think he got out there and thought, shoot, I'm going to score. That's even better. I think he thought he was going to score, and then he comes up just short. So it's a learning. I think that's a learning experience for all of us. Thankfully, it was in a game that didn't come down to 3 points. But Austin is the guy's effort and want to is all there. So there was nothing about his intent that was wrong. It was just, again, understand the situation a little better.
So you've been in this situation before in the past, but a lot of guys in the locker room haven't. You feeling for guys maybe less than 2 or 3 years. What do you say to them? And do you sense an excitement that you're from them in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think 2 ways. Keep the focus we've had and keep doing how we've done this one game at a time approach. But also, hey, guys, it gets not much better. We're going to Kansas City on a Saturday night in December, playing for the division lead with 3 weeks to play. So I think it's good to acknowledge that, but yet make sure everybody doesn't get too caught up in the hype because it can end and turn the other way in a hurry.
And with Tyrell Williams, last year he was basically the number 1 guy. Now he's kind of had a different role. But you saw what he could do today. How's he handled the different seniors?
He's been great. I do think there's a uniqueness here. Maybe it's at other places. I'm sure it is. Places that win, I'm sure it's this way. And I think it's attributed to why we've, won more games as of recently. But we've always had this, I think. But the unselfishness of our skill players is unreal. I mean, and we talk about it's a known deal. I mean, do you know how many times Tyrell's cleared out for Keenan and how many times we've switched those 2 guys to throw Keenan the ball on a certain route where it could have been Tyrell, and he understands it because he knows how good of a player Keenan is. But also, I think I can make that play too. So there's a balance of wanting the ball, but also where's my role in the team. But then you mix in and you go, who do we want on this deep crossing route to start the game? Well, we want Tyrell. Well, who do we want on the big post that we hope hits for a touchdown? Or it's Tyrell. And those 2 things hit today. So he's been great. Travis has been great. I think they've really everybody's role and the way it's in Mike's is we're still squirming him around to figure that one out. But it's been fun to see those guys, the dynamic, and they really all pull for one another. And then you throw in the tight ends in the backs as well. So it's a group that loves to see their buddies succeed. And that's hard to find in any level. It's hard to find with 9-year-olds team sometimes, but it's fun to see it, especially at this level.
Was everyone back healthy this year in terms of your playmakers? Did it take some time to find everyone's proper role?
I don't know that it took time. I think it's taking some time for us to get in a groove. And again, we say get in a groove, and you can have 5 3-and-outs in a hurry. I mean, it's just such a different game than you're shooting good and you're just going to shoot good that game. It's different because every game's new. Every defense presents different challenges. I don't know that it took long to find everybody's role. I think it's just, again, it's been a matter of we're growing in this thing together. I know we have some continuity with offensive staff, but you have a new head coach. We have new pieces. We have new location. And I think the biggest thing that I still want to reiterate, even in those first 4 games, is we weren't terrible then. We lost some really close games, and we just weren't as consistent. But we did some good things. You go back and if you looked at those 4 games and looked at all the numbers. And I know it doesn't matter about the stats necessarily other than the W and the L, but it wasn't terrible football. We just weren't finding that way to win. It wasn't terrible football in Jacksonville. We just did enough things to lose at the end. And so those are the ones that cost that have us where we are today, but thankfully we've done enough to still be in the mix.
So if you stand in a group as a player and then as an offense for 4 or 5 games now, what's it like to be in that mode, that stage?
Well, I think.
How do you take it?
Yeah, well, I think it's one of those deals where you're confident and you feel like you're going pretty good, and so you really have no problem letting the balls rip and throwing ones that are a little tight. The one to Hunter across the middle early in the game. When you're going like we've gone, you feel more confident throwing those, but you got to be careful not to relax. So there's that fine line of shoot, it's going good. You come on in there and I'm letting it rip. To all right, making sure you don't cross the line of, okay, I'm getting carried away, So, but it's sure is a dang heck of a lot more fun than an alternative.
Any special memories about Kansas City? You had a big win in Kansas City a few years ago. You played there so many times.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some really some fun games there in Kansas City. There's been a handful not so fun. You think about that 13 game that was the finish. We scored there late, and kind of a high-scoring back-and-forth game. Scored late in a similar time of the year, maybe a little earlier. That was big in that season. There was the disaster there. We ran out the clock and we turned the ball over. There's been probably more good than bad, but I'm not sure where we are there in the last 10 years. It's probably right there, about 500. At least it seems right as games flash in my head. But it's one of my favorite places to play. You get used to division teams. It seems that I named Denver and Kansas City as places that are your favorite to play because that's where you've been the most. But it's atmosphere on Saturday night will be about as good as you can find anywhere. So these are the games you grow up dreaming about playing in, and here we are playing in it. 2 teams are sitting there at 7-6. December the 16th on Saturday night in Kansas City, about 38, 40 degrees. It's pretty awesome.
So if you guys have gotten off to good starts early on, Wes, I think this is the first time in your career you've had 200 throwing yards the first half of 3 consecutive games. Is there a common reason why you got off to good starts? Is just execution?
No, yes, we've been executing. It was interesting though yesterday and I feel this way most games, but more so it felt like yesterday when we kind of every team puts together the first 15 plays or whatever. You don't necessarily stick with those, but you kind of have an idea of what's coming up in the first 5 or 6 plays of the game. And this last night in the meeting, I was just telling Shane, I was like, "Gosh, the play string early. It looks like we're about to just start off awesome." It's just one of those. Everything that we've practiced. Obviously, you're not going to put anything in there you don't like, but it was one of those where you thought, "All right, if we hit that first one to Tyrell, it's going to be a good start to a game because what we got coming early is going to." We felt good about as far as the game plan, how we're going to attack these guys.
So as long as defense, for a rookie defensive back, playing cover, playing different positions, for a DB to come in and have that kind of an impact on a defense that's good this quick, I've got to say it's on you.
Yeah, well, I think, again, he's one that if you ask my dad, as he liked number 20, he'd tell you that's a heck of a football player. And I think that's the best way to describe him. He's a blitzer. He plays in the slot. He tackles. He covers. You see him with his personality and the way he plays. He loves to play. And I'm not saying I've called it, but early on in the offseason, I was like, this guy can play. You just saw something about him that you knew he could play, and then you start to see, 2 years ago at Iowa, he had he had 10 interceptions or something, 8, 9 interceptions, and then you start to piece it all together and go, okay, you get it. You can see why what he did in college, but it's been good to see him, and he's crafty. He's crafty too. To play the slot, you got to have a balance of a little bit of savviness, toughness, and crafty. You got to play. Are you blitzing? Are you not blitzing? He has a pretty good feel for how to handle all those things as well.
Do you get the opener on Saturday night? Is that when
We get them Saturday morning usually, and then there's a chance they could tweak. Things change as in that 24 hours. There's things that change, but usually Saturday morning you have a good idea of what you're getting ready to start the game with. And again, those things change. All of a sudden, we get the ball in a turnover. We may not even use them. We may not even start the game like that. But you usually have an idea. And, you hit a big chunk like this, like we hit the first play, and you know, Wiz had alerted us, hey, we may not call what's next. You know, so it's not a. Some teams are really religious by the way they stay on. These are our first 10 plays, no matter what. We're definitely far from that, but I think most teams kind of have their, 10, 15 play string that they all know that they're coming up early. We good?